Hello, friends. It's the Cinemondo podcast.
Oh, okay. Now, one thing I love is comedy horror. I
Right.
almost like it almost as much as just plain old horror, especially if they play the horror like kind of like Shaun of the Dead did it perfectly. The horror
Right.
was very horror and very scary, but
There's
the
a fine
comedy,
line.
it is so fine. And so he did a fine, Shaun of the Dead did it perfectly. That's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite horror comedies. Also, I loved Ramasham, which is a Indian horror film that I loved that did the same thing. They tread that really fine line of being actually really scary and then comedy, but they also had a great concept about like a Ouija board that was awesome. So
Right.
if you have the good, clear way in for your horror and then you kind of play it for laughs, because there is some absurdity to horror that I think
Yeah.
is something people don't quite understand. Like they think horror is just always straight on horror, but when you add a little humor to it, that just enhances horror. And also, I feel like if you were actually involved in something that a lot of these horror movies are, it would feel absurd. You'd almost feel like, what is happening? Is this? You'd almost be laughing like this is just too weird.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
love
it's
that.
also the thing when you make a horror film, people who love horror films can always spot the frauds. You can
Yes.
always spot it and you can go, okay, this person doesn't really get what makes
Yeah,
horror movies
exactly.
so good, and they're trying to make a horror film.
That's right.
And the same with comedy
Mhm.
of all the genres, of all the things, and I've
Oh,
worked on tons and tons of movies and shows and things.
mhm.
The hardest thing in the world to do is comedy. Comedy is so
So
difficult.
hard.
It's harder than anything.
So hard.
And combining horror, which is
Yeah.
in general pretty scary, which seems to be the
Mhm.
opposite side of the spectrum from funny. Um,
Yes.
Combining those two things, like you said, you really have to find the humor in the horror, which adds a level of difficulty that is
Yes.
almost impossible for
Too hard.
mortals to find that sweet spot.
So true.
And you really have to understand horror and comedy.
That's right.
That's why Shaun of the Dead works so well. Those guys, you can tell everybody involved in that film loves horror films
That's right.
and loves comedy films.
That's right. So we have a poster for this, and it gives us a little bit of a clue. So you can see, like, there's the women's expressions are looking a little
Yeah,
like they're obsessed, and then the
they're
guys are like
enthralled.
getting terrified by their wives, like or the girlfriends, whatever is happening here. So I love the look of this because it does have that kind of gritty horror feel with the kind of distressed texture on the wall, the kind
Yeah,
of dark shadow vignette, the creepy kind of clock, the portrait
yeah.
just kind of
The
darkened back.
clock.
We don't see what they're looking at, but the guys are playing it for laughs and the women's expressions are kind of over the top, but you get that this is going to be some interesting contrasts of horror and comedy because they set up the whole thing as a horror poster and then they add funny expressions. So that
Yeah,
can be really fun and looks like
like
they're
kind of
watching it with them.
like an old-fashioned TV set, maybe a
Yep.
period kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, true. That's interesting. So yeah, there it is. There's a poster. So let's take a look at the trailer and see what they're doing. Can they do it?
Interesting.
Are they going to pull it off? Already, I like the beep, so we're good hands there.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Ready? And
Yeah.
beep.
నువ్వు ఆఫీస్ నుంచి ఇంటికి వచ్చినప్పుడు
Tralala.
కాఫీ ఎలా అడుగుతావు నీ భార్యని
శివల్లి నీకేం పని లేకపోతే ఒక కాఫీ ఇస్తావా ఏం పని లేకపోతేనే లేదంటే నేనే పెడతా
ఇప్పుడు అదే కాఫీని ఎలా అడుగుతాం తెలుసా
Oh boy.
కాఫీ
ఆడైతే కనీసం మాట అని అంటాడు మనం ఏంటో తెలుసా
సైకో నా కొడకల్లారా మరి ఇలా ఉన్నారంటారా మీరు
Yeah, seriously.
ఇది పాడు చేద్దాం
అరే నాకు సిగ్గు అవుతుంది మీరు కళ్ళు మూసుకోండి
మళ్ళీ ఇంకా మొదలెట్టు
పాలు నీళ్ళ బంధం ఇది జన్మ జన్మల బంధం
అక్కడ చక్కగా మాట్లాడుతున్నాం కదా వాళ్ళు
I like how the bed's all romantic.
నేను రాత్రంతా ఏంట్రా శబ్దాలు పైన
పిల్లల్ని అడిగే మాట్లాడి బుద్ధి రాకుండాను
ఆ సీరియల్ టీవీలో వస్తున్నంతసేపు నా పిల్లని చాలా తేడాగా ప్రవర్తించింది రా
నీ మొగిండే నేను చెప్పిన మాట వినాలి నువ్వు
Okay, these guys.
డైనింగ్ టేబుల్ మీద కొట్టేసిందిరా నాకు భయం వేస్తుందిరా
In a way.
ఊర్లో ఒక్కడైనా బయటకు వచ్చి చెప్పాడు అసలు
ఊరందరికి తెలిసిన సీక్రెట్ రా ఇది. మొత్తం మగవాళ్ళ పరువు అంతా డేంజర్ లో పడింది.
మన దరిద్ర కొట్టు సీరియల్
Don't talk shit about it.
నా వల్ల కాదురా. ఆ ఇంట్లో అయితే నేను ఉండలేనురా. ఈ పాట అంతా మొత్తం తెల్లగా అయిపోయి
మోడదాకా సైలెంట్ కూర్చొని సీరియల్ చూసేవాళ్ళు. ఇప్పుడే యాక్టర్ కొట్టేదాకా వచ్చింది.
I don't like it.
సీరియల్ రాది సీరియల్ మనకి అంతా అయిపోలా ఆల్ఫా అన్నావు పురుషుడు అన్నావు ఇప్పుడు భయపడుతున్నావా?
ఆల్ఫానే ఆడోళ్ళ దగ్గర దెయ్యాల దగ్గర కాదు కదా.
మాత ఇప్పుడు మా అందరికి ఏం జరగబోతుంది?
They're all hiding.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఊళ్ళో ఉన్న మగాళ్ళందరూ పోతారా?
All right. That was funny because first of all, I love that they're like, "What about us poor males?
Right. Us poor alpha males.
What are we gonna do?" It's so funny.
Where's my tea?
I just use the hand gesture. My wife brings me my coffee. That was so funny. You know, that's the kind of horror where I love it because it challenges the norms, the social norms. And then like what is going on in a mind's, man's what's going on in a man's mind when he thinks that it's all settled and that his woman is there to serve him and that's all there is to it. Like what happens when you upset that balance, which it seems like the serial or soap opera is doing that. I love that idea. Like, how do they challenge it? What do they do? Well, the women turn into monsters. That's clearly what happens. They turn into monsters.
Well, they turn in. I mean, it's again another kind of revenge thing. It's like you get your comeuppance if you're a jerk, if you're bad. And
That's right.
in this case, the comeuppance is kind. I mean, the metaphor, obviously. I mean, I'm being, Captain Obvious. Is the sort of viral infections that often come through televisions, and media, and people get these crazy ideas in their heads, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's a lie, but sometimes it's empowering. Sometimes you get people inspired to want to make, lift themselves up to a better position, and the levels that people tend to put each other in, these cultural levels or societal kind of, you're above me or you're beneath me because of this or that about you. And those things, if you were a green person and somebody was saying green people are inferior, and then you spent your whole life feeling inferior, and then there was a TV show called The Green People, and it was like inspiring, and it was made for green people, and everybody was green, and they were all cool and happy and powerful. You'd feel like, wow, maybe it's all right to be green.
That's
Even
right.
though it's not easy being green.
It's not easy. I know. It's so sad. Well,
But
I like
that kind of message coming through a television, I guess, when it's a good message, it can turn you into, what other people might see as a monster.
Yeah. But what other people would just call empowerment.
Yeah.
That's like you can say no to your husbands. You can let him get his own coffee.
Yeah.
You can let them be independent.
He can maybe bring you some coffee.
Yeah. You know what happened here? I got my own coffee.
Yeah, me too.
But I like it too because there does seem to be a little bit of I'm not going to say war on women, but there has been a little bit like certain politics trying to roll back gender roles and make sure, they want women to be housewives and mothers and the idea of women being empowered or even in the workforce is a problem. So they're taking this idea and kind of making it a micro idea in a comedic way of inside the domestic, situation construct. You have the husband who's like, I'm the, ruler of the household, and the women who help him and take care of him. do all that. It's like, well, maybe the women want to be taken care of. Maybe the women don't want to bring you your coffee. Maybe you got your own 2 legs and your own 2 hands to pick up your own coffee. That kind of stuff. Like, I like that, a little bit of like wake up call, and that they're so comfortable and relaxed into their role that they're like surprised when a woman wants to say no or just wants to watch TV.
And it takes strength to take care of yourself and to take care of someone else.
Nobody
and
wants to
take
do
care of
it.
each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's like some very sort of childish people seem to still need, you know, mommy to do everything for them. And it's like, you know what? It's so much. It doesn't really take. I say it takes strength to treat people with equality, but it doesn't. It takes no extra strength to do
It really
that.
doesn't.
It just takes humanity and compassion and being realistic. I think it's like an extra effort to abuse people, you know. I mean, that sounds stupid to say, but it's like somebody sitting there snapping their fingers and wanting somebody to deliver something, you know, give me this, give me that, and make it like this, and don't make it like, you know, ordering people around. It just sounds like an impetuous little child. And it's like,
it is.
Here's, you know, I mean, unfortunately that is encouraged by a lot of things that come through the TV.
That's right.
And other places, other sources of bad information. But you know what? It's like a well-adjusted human being sees other people not as an opportunity for getting something out of them, and sees other people as other people. And that's, I guess, called compassion. And maybe what's coming through these women's television that's transforming them.
Yeah.
It's interesting that that in the film they turn into these sort of exorcists, like possessed by the devil kind of things.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if the film has the point of view that stuff that these women are watching is bad for them, and it's turning them into, it's making them not be what they should be. Or if the film ultimately has a message, kind of like, you know, something like Barbie or something, where the message is, you know, guys, wake up a little bit, and it's like, be a man.
Well, I mean, the thing
Stop
is, like,
being a boy, be a man.
How about everybody just take care of each other?
Yeah.
Instead of deciding that one person just gets to sit on the couch while the other one waits on them, like,
It's
you know,
not
it's
that
like.
hard.
So I like this idea. I wonder where it's going to go. I wonder what the message is going to be. But I love the idea the men are kind of helpless and being kind of like, oh, what do we do? All scared about it. That's pretty funny. So this is directed by Praveen Kandregula, and it is starring Harsith Reddy, Shriya, Kontham, and due to come out May 9th. So we'll get to see it very soon.
May 9th.
That's
Yes.
May 9th. All
No,
right.
it looks fun. It looks interesting. Also, I mean, we're talking about all the messages, you know, under the surface or on the surface.
Yeah.
But we were kind of neglecting the idea of just the story, just the scariness, and it looks silly and goofy and fun. It looks kind of fun.
Yeah.
And the cast looks really fun. They all, you know,
It does.
they all seem to be getting into it. And it looks like, I mean, maybe not Shaun of the Dead, but it looks like it might be kind of one of those upside down bonkers kind of horror films.
Well, I mean, I laughed a few times in this trailer without knowing anything about it. So that's a good sign that you know, you can always get humor out of it. And they set up the construct pretty clearly. So I like that. So I'm interested in seeing
sometimes the excesses are what's funny. Like remember a little film called Evil Dead 2?
Mm-hmm.
That poster right there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is autographed, by the way. But that movie didn't have any overt like comedy in it, but it was hilarious in some place. I mean, it's
pretty overt.
It's Sam Raimi, so there's comedy in
Campbell.
there. Bruce Campbell, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It was like it was basically a horror film.
It was.
But you're laughing through so much of it.
It didn't back off from the horror. Like it brought genuine cool horror, and then it added the humor on top of it, the absurdity.
Yeah, who's laughing now?
Who's laughing now? We are.
This kind of gave me a vibe of like Evil Dead 2 level.
Yeah, I can see that.
Excessive, like things just go crazy off the rails, and that's what's funny about it.
Yeah, I can see the men looking at women who are trying to rebel as demons. Like, what do I do with this crazy demon who's possessed my wife? It's like, no, she's just trying to be a woman that doesn't have to wait on you. That's all it is.
And I could do another hour on the metaphors hiding in movies like The Exorcist and things like that, where, you know,
Which
a
was
young
not
woman,
a comedy.
but the idea of a young woman, the metaphor, the the symbolism of a mother seeing her young daughter growing up, and sometimes it may seem
Oh
like
yeah, teen girls
teenagers
are
possessed
demons
by
for sure.
demons.
They definitely are. All right, you guys, let us know in the comments if you saw anything we missed. We'd love to hear your opinions of this trailer. Was it funny to you? Let us know. Bye.
Yeah, looks interesting.